What's going on, everyone? I'm Encore. This is Tomorrow Never Comes, and today's video I want to showcase Anthony Scaramucci and his comments about Bitcoin, ETH, and just investment mentality, and even an altcoin in there that they are heavily invested in, possibly even two. And if you don't know who Anthony Scaramucci is, he is a founder, or the founder and managing partner of a large asset management company called Skybridge Capital. So they've been invested in crypto, or Bitcoin and ETH specifically, since October, November of 2020. And so I just want to play this because, you know, it's different when you listen to myself or anyone else that is the quote unquote average Joe out there who's trying their best to invest and create generational wealth. There's a difference between that and those who actually are already there, okay, or manage people who are there. And so I want to really highlight that and share that for you guys here. So, all right.
Mooch, great to see you. I'm curious to get your thoughts on
you too, Tom.
Curious to get your thoughts on Bitcoin and Ethereum on the one hand versus all of the other, so-called altcoins, setting aside stable coins. Do you have as constructive a view on the altcoin kind of universe as you do on Bitcoin and Ethereum, or are you really focusing on those two?
So we have a very large position in a smaller coin called Algorand. We think that has award-winning technology. We also think it solves for the trilemma. We also like Solana.
So just a touch there. So Algorand is a layer one solution. It's headed by Professor Silvio McCall, who is a professor at MIT and literally the pioneer of cryptography. So they do some very interesting things with their layer one. And when he mentions trilemma, he's actually talking about every blockchain's problem, for the most part, is a three-pronged issue, which is trying to solve for decentralization, security, and scalability. And so what ends up happening is every blockchain tends to lean towards two out of the three, and then that third prong becomes weakness, if not more than one prong. Okay, so that's what he means by that trilemma, is decentralization. How decentralized is the protocol itself? How secure is it? And then how scalable is it? So those are the three things.
But your question about Bitcoin and Ethereum, Tom, those are our two largest positions as it relates to Bitcoin.
And he did mention Solana as well. So those are the two altcoins that they are heavily invested in.
We think that the improvement of the Lightning Network, the increase in applications, and the ease of transactions on Bitcoin, you're going to see a lot more commercial activity there. And of course, you have the merge coming with Ethereum.
And so this is something that I've been seeing more and more of. It's a lot of talk about what can actually be done on the Bitcoin network. For all intents and purposes, Bitcoin has been considered digital gold, right? You buy it, you store it, you forget about it, it appreciates. You know, somewhere along the lines, that's the mentality. But what everyone's forgetting is that it's a robust protocol, and that can actually change going forward in terms of what is done on it or through it. Okay, you have the Lightning Network, which is a layer two. If all this doesn't make sense, think of a layer two sitting on top of that layer one, creating more efficiency, creating more speed, and allowing more things to happen on top of that layer one protocol. Okay, so everyone's kind of forgotten about Lightning Network, or the majority don't talk about it. All they do is talk about ETH being the DeFi central, or the underpinnings of DeFi, which it has been. But I'm hearing more and more about Bitcoin protocol using DeFi or enabling DeFi protocols on top of it, and just a whole bunch of other things, even NFTs through the Bitcoin network. So I think going forward, because Bitcoin is so scalable, is so decentralized and secure, that the Lightning Network layer 2 and all the development that will happen on top of that will really take advantage of this network and provide quite a bit of scalability. And here's what I always say, is that what we see today guaranteed is not going to be there in 5-10 years, meaning how we see it today. Okay, Bitcoin will be there, but how it's used, what are the use cases, that will definitely change.
Which is going to lower the transaction fees on that network. A lot of traders are probably buying that rumor, Tom. You're well familiar with this. They'll probably sell on the news of that merger, which is going to happen in mid-September. But again, I would caution.
So the famous phrase here is buy the rumor, sell the news. This is typically what happens in the stock market, or any market for that matter, where the fever pitch hype that ends up happening around a particular topic, traders are buying that news up. So as the hype grows, and then once the event actually happens, people tend to dump on that news because, you know, the not so sophisticated or savvy investors is buying at that time, and the traders and those savvy have already bought before and kind of dump on the ones coming at the time of the actual news itself.
People not to do that. These are great long-term investments. In the next 6 years, if we're right, if Bitcoin goes to $300,000 a coin, it will not matter whether you bought it at $20,000, $60,000. It's really not going to matter. And I'm just cautioning people. The future is upon us. It's happening sooner than I thought. The BlackRock news, I know you're looking at that.
So here's the always interesting aspect now. I have so many people in the crypto space, people I know, who are saying that I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to drop to 12,000 or 15,000 before I jump in. They may have bought before, they may have sold out, all this kind of stuff. Bitcoin was at 18, 19,000. And it always blew me away that for where we think the space is going to go, for where we think Bitcoin is going to go, that, you know, between 18 to 12, 13,000 is, you know, what, 5, 6,000. What does that matter if we in the space all know, you know, where it's going to go? And here Anthony Scaramucci is calling, you know, 300,000 per Bitcoin. Why would it matter? Why would you sit on your hands and wait for 12K or 13K when it's at 18K? If it's at 20,000, if it's at 23,000, 24, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. So really think about long term. If you think the asset's going to go to a certain place, then trying to time things now for a minuscule amount in terms of the big picture doesn't make any sense.
And I'm looking at that saying, okay, finally Larry Fink is seeing the institutional demand. Otherwise, he wouldn't be setting up those products and he wouldn't be teaming up with Coinbase. And so when this stuff happens, I just want to remind people there are only 21 million Bitcoins out there, and you'll have a demand shock with very little supply.
So Anthony, for Ethereum specifically, it sounds like the long-term you're a believer, but short-term there is a trade that will likely happen. Is the coin fund trading around that at all?
Actually, no. We're long it. I'm trying to condition clients to just stay in there. There's no reason for us to create that friction. I think you and I know, Melissa, and I've seen you talk about this on Fast Money. If you're out of the market for the 10 best days, you've reduced your return from like a 7.5% return to a 2% return. That's the overall stock market. And so I don't want to start herking and jerking the portfolio based on emotion. Again, we're up 45% since we last spoke. We did nothing but hold the positions and stick to our discipline. I think that's the message I'm trying to send to investors. See through this. There's a lot of short-term people, there's a lot of research departments in different wirehouses that have knee-jerk reactions to things and they get overly emotional. We're trying to tell people just relax, see through this. We see a pretty optimistic scenario for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Algorand over the next 12 to 24 months.
Bitcoin hitting its...
So I just wanted to... Wow, one sec, guys. I'm going to try and you guys can just see my face from here anyway. So look, here's really what it comes down to is he unpacked so much there, okay? He unpacked quite a bit. And one of the things he mentioned was don't mess around, right? There's a saying that time in the market is way more important than timing the market. So he showed that over a 10-day span is where most of the gains were accumulated within the stock market. If you missed those 10 days, right, the rest of 355 days, you're messing around. If you missed that particular set of 10 days, you lost 5% in your return. Okay, so trying to get in and out and time things, it doesn't make any sense, especially when you think the asset is, in this case, Bitcoin and ETH or anything else, has long-term value way above where it is today. Okay, so that's kind of reiterating what I already said. All right, so he actually mentioned something on another video that I really love. It actually reminded of a Mike Tyson saying. He mentioned everyone has a long-term position until they have short-term losses. Okay, so that reminded me of Tyson, because it's always like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Same thing here. We're like, oh, Bitcoin's gonna go to 1 million or 500,000 and ETH's gonna go to 10,000. And as soon as that narrative flips and they see red, and it's very natural, okay? Even I felt that at certain times, you want out. And then you want to start trying to play the timing game, which makes it much worse, and you accumulate way more losses than you actually do gains, okay? You will always hear people say the gains they made on the trade, but they'll never tell you that they had 90 trades before that were all losses and way more than what they actually made. All right, so I thought that was very important and very interesting to hear from Anthony Scaramucci, one of the best people I've heard speak, especially on stage. I saw him at Collision conference here in Toronto in July, and by far was the best speaker on stage. Composed, knew his stuff, just what you saw here. No hesitation, no pauses. He's on point. He knows what he wants to say and knows how to back it up. Love the guy. So again, take a listen again if you guys need to understand what's going on here. Bitcoin, ETH, long-term, great. Skybridge Capital is really into Algorand and Solana. Take that as you will. All right. But overall, have a long-term investing perspective. Don't mess around. Don't be in and out. Stay the course. Do your due diligence. Do your work, and will benefit, and you will benefit in the long run. All right, guys. Hope you found value in this. It's always important to see what savvy investors are actually doing, as opposed to mom and pop or your neighbor or any random YouTuber. All right. So, guys, remember, tomorrow never comes. Take action. Invest in yourself today, and I'll see you in the next video.